Hello and welcome to Daily Reflection with Aneel Aranha. Today is the 4th of December 2019 and we're going to reflect on Matthew 15:29 to 37. After Jesus had left that place, he passed along the Sea of Galilee and he went up the mountain where he sat down. Great crowds came to him, bringing with them the lame, the maimed, the blind, the mute, and many others. They put them at his feet and he cured them, so that the crowd was amazed when they saw the mute speaking, the maimed whole, the lame walking, and the blind seeing, and they praised the God of Israel. Then Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I have compassion for the crowd, because they've been with me now for 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I do not want to send them away hungry, for they might faint on the way. The disciples said to him, Where are we to get enough bread in the desert to feed so great a crowd? Jesus asked them, How many loaves do you have? And they said, 7 and a few small fish. Then ordering the crowd to sit down on the ground, he took the 7 loaves and the fish, and after giving thanks, he broke them and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds, and all of them ate and were filled, and they took up the broken pieces left over, 7 baskets full. The gospel of the Lord. I know that every now and then, especially in the midst of great struggles, we feel that God doesn't care. If you're feeling like that now, or might feel like this in the future, take note of today's passage. Jesus cares. After preaching to thousands of people who had gathered to listen to him, Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I have compassion for the crowd, because they have been with me now for 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I do not want to send them away hungry. Jesus had compassion for them. He had compassion for their spiritual needs, which were eternal in their consequences, which is why he preached to them as he did to the thousands in the story. He had compassion for their physical needs, which were lifelong in their consequences, which is why he healed everyone who was sick, and he even cared about their need for sustenance, which is why he provided them with food. So the automatic question that often follows is this: if Jesus is truly compassionate and cares so much about us, why does he leave us to suffer? And the answer is also contained in this passage. First, in the response of the crowds, then in the response of the apostles. The crowds went to him, seeking help, placing themselves at his feet. And we also need to go to Jesus too, confessing our helplessness before the overwhelming odds against us. Jesus did what he wanted. Then, turning to the apostles, got them involved in what he wanted to do. Let's feed them, he said. How? They answer. There isn't enough bread in the desert to feed so many. And by saying this, they were admitting their own helplessness. Now, how many loaves do you have? Jesus asked. 7.5, they replied, this time admitting their own insufficiency. Jesus nodded, blessed what they had, and told them to distribute it. They did, and through their obedience, fed the multitudes. So what do we learn from this? In ourselves, we are helpless to do anything. By ourselves, we have very little to offer. But when we go to Jesus, admitting to our helplessness and placing ourselves under his control and care, he can make the impossible possible. Scripture affirms this, although in a different context. What is impossible with man is possible with God. So let us not despair when things get difficult, and when Jesus asks us to be part of his mission, let us not hesitate to say yes. God bless.